When starting a Minecraft world, I like to plan everything I'm gonna do. From where I'm gonna base to what that starter base is gonna look like, I like to have a solid plan before even loading into the world. But this time, I started this world with nothing. Now, saying that I have no idea what I'm gonna do isn't necessarily entirely true. I do have a couple of those basic things that I need to get done before I can even think of building a base. What I'm gonna need to do is I'm gonna need to get some basic resources like food and wood. I'm gonna need to go mining so I can get some better tools, and then set up an XP farm so I can make that resource grind just a little bit easier. Alright, well, first things first, I'm definitely gonna need to get some food here cooking up, and then I'm probably gonna go down and go mining to hopefully get some diamonds just so I can get some nice tools. I also want to find obsidian so I can make a nether portal and then hopefully get an enchanting setup, just so I'll be able to enchant those. But let's go ahead and head on down into the caves. While I was mining, I was starting to think about what my starter base should be, because what it's going to be is going to greatly affect what kind of resources I'm going to need to gather for it. At first I was thinking maybe some sort of ruins, like an old gate or a stone tower that's been long abandoned. But then the idea came to me. What's something people use in real life for temporary houses? They use tents. Now that I have the idea of what my base is going to be, I need to know what style I'm going to go for. I could do fantasy, or I could go medieval, or I could do a simple triangle tent. And after a couple tries, I landed on a circular tent, inspired by the medieval round tent and a Mongolian yurt. While I did find that zombie spawner, I think I'm going to try to look for a skeleton one, just because that will be more useful in the long run for me. XP isn't a huge thing, but I do want the bones and then eventually the bows from it for any redstone I need to build. And then obviously the bones are going to be very helpful for any farms I need to build. I think now I'm gonna head out of this cave, go back to the surface, and go out and try to get some mangrove, and hopefully get some food along the way. Alright, now that I have this mangrove that I needed, all that's left is for me to get home. And I don't really want to walk all the way there, so I think I'm going to use that ruined nether portal I came past on the way here to make the journey a little bit quicker. Okay, now that I'm back at my base, there's just one more thing I want to do before I build my tents. I'm going to want to set up that skeleton XP farm. Even though the skeleton farm is a 9x9 hole, I managed to put the drop chute in the wrong spot, so it's just a little bit off, but it still does work. But now that I have that done, I think it's finally time for me to make my starter base. Alright, so I'm really liking the way this turned out. Do want to add just a couple more trees in the background here just to really tie this whole area together. Before I can get this forest in, I'm going to need to put the forest floor down. And for that, I'm definitely going to need to make a moss farm. This moss farm design that I'm using is pretty good, but I'm not sure who the original creator is just because I've been using the same schematic for so long. While the placement of the farm might seem a little random, I promise it's very important because there are some big plans for the future. Now that the moss farm's built and I thought I had gotten all the resources I needed to start working on the forest floor, I quickly had to stop because I was leaving behind all these holes because I forgot to get mycelium. But after a while, the missing my ceiling was just leaving way too many gaps, and I couldn't ignore it anymore, so I decided to take the long boat ride out to the Mushroom Island to get it. After a long time of some super slow progress on the forest floor, I finally realized that I might just need to go get shulker boxes. As up until this point I hadn't been to the end yet because I didn't really have a super big interest in getting elytra. But after boating back and forth and running out of resources many times, I realized I need shulker boxes. As you can probably tell by now, I am terrible at planning things out. And of course that means the preparation for the dragon fight was just as poorly planned out as starting this build project. Even though I had already been to the stronghold to get books from the library, I had forgotten that it's underneath an ocean monument. And going there, I ended up getting myself trapped because I got mining fatigue and couldn't get a way out. So after spending 30 minutes because I wasn't paying attention to the mining fatigue behind the store, I finally realized that I could craft a button to open it, and then I was finally off to the end. Even though I was finally able to make it into the end, that didn't mean that it was going to get any better for me. I still had mining fatigue, so I needed to wait inside this room for a while, and then once I got out I realized that I forgot a water bucket, I forgot a bow, and I didn't bring a lot of food with me, so off to finally do some end raiding, which then only took me about 15 minutes to get all the shulkers I needed and 2 pairs of elytra. Now that I finally have shulker boxes, I can finally get this forest floor in a little bit quicker, just because I'm able to load a lot more resources into my inventory. During this process, the rooted dirt by far was the worst resource I had to get. So I ended up grabbing my beacon and moving it over an azalea tree and just digging a 5x5 hole all the way down to deep slate. Wow, I couldn't help myself and I had to build one pine tree just to see what it's gonna look like, and I think this is gonna look pretty nice. So let's go ahead and get all the ground foliage in, then we can finally start building trees. Before I can get all that ground foliage in, I am gonna need a fern and a grass farm. This is a small little design, so it shouldn't take too long to build, and then I'll be able to start on that foliage. The farm design is pretty simple. All it is just standing in the corner against a bubble elevator, so you bob up and down a little bit, and that pushes your crosshair on and off this stone block, which then allows you to break and place the fern or grass repeatedly. Now that this fern farm is done, and I spent a little bit of time getting the rest of the resources I'm going to need for this forest, I can finally go ahead and finish this build. Wow, this forest really turned out amazing. I am so glad I put the extra time in to just make this look one step better than it did before. Originally, I wasn't planning on putting as much foliage in here, but I really do think the extra just makes all the difference. But anyways, with that is going to bring this to a close. I do have some pretty big plans in the future, expanding this forest, amongst other things. But most of all, thank you for watching.